thank you everyone for staying for this quite momentous occasion. I'll just wait for those who are still coming in to arrive. It probably is worth saying that in 1957, when a young, slender sapling of an Australian went to his first SBL, I was 4 years old. 56 years later, we've heard the full maturity of the years from one whose eye has not dimmed, indeed has not stopped twinkling. And we would encourage Norm to maintain that sort of enthusiasm that comes through the way he speaks and delivers ever so lightly the full weight of study of the Hebrew Scriptures into what has preoccupied him for the last 15 years. That is the development of an ecological consciousness and conscience amongst those who work with the Scriptures. The ecological hermeneutic session here at SBL is probably the singular witness to the immense contribution of Norm Habel. It was absolutely delightful earlier today in the session when Norm was taken on by someone I estimated to be about a quarter of his age. And I know that Norm would delight in just such a critique of his own work. Because the one thing that I have learned about Norm over the years is that he sees criticism and correction as the opportunity for new flowerings, new ideas to come, both for himself as well as for this particular area of interest, ecological hermeneutics. This is not the time, nor is there time, to rehearse Norm's achievements. For those of you who want to get just a little sample of them, have a look at the introduction and the immense collection of writings that comes under the name of Norm Habel. One of the things that is characteristic of Norm, however, and which in a very small way we have tried to reflect in the collection that makes up this honouring of Norm, this Festschrift, is that Norm was never satisfied with having a very single-minded, myopic approach to the use of Scripture. And so his contributions actually cover an enormous range. You will find in this book an astonishing array. Yes, there is a concentration on ecological hermeneutics, but there is also a first ever dramatization of Elijah under the title of Carmel. It actually is by far the longest part of the book, but I have actually used it in class already with my students, and they actually heard the Scriptures come alive. So Bill Erbrock, thank you. It's a delight. You will find here study of film, and of course there will be this blending of both Hebrew Scriptures and Greek. I want to say a few words of thanks before I finally hand this over to Norm. First, I want to thank the contributors. There's about 17 people who have made a contribution to this book, covering an enormous array of scholarship, different approaches, and the like. Some of them really did have to squeeze time out of their agendas, so I am extremely grateful for those who honoured the deadlines, really worked hard to bring that to fruition. I want to thank also someone who cannot be here for various reasons, namely Peter Truninger, who has worked with Norm over a number of years on ecological hermeneutics, and he sends his very warm and slightly sad regards that he could not be here to see it happen. I want to thank Sheffield Phoenix. The way that Sheffield have actually worked with the editors and with the contributors has been exemplary. Not only David in terms of heading up Sheffield Phoenix and making it happen, but Asa Parkham has been one of the most ironic and yet forceful people to work with in bringing about this work. So very deep thanks to Sheffield Phoenix for enabling this Festschrift to come to be. And finally, above all, to thank Norm for the contribution that he's made in this, his 6th decade of scholarship, to to not simply the scholarship itself, but to people along the way, encouraging them in their thinking, encouraging them to test out not just his ideas, but new ideas. And finally, as those of you who were here in that final session where Norm raised the issue of whether he should move on into rewriting his commentary on Job, that sense in which you can still hear that spark that enthuses other people. And I want to thank Norm very deeply for that. So, old man, we do present this. There's the book. There's the fellow that it's in honour of. There will be copies available after Norm has corrected everything that I just said. And they are able to be bought from David over here. For those of you who are not contributors, the contributors probably have theirs waiting in the letterbox at home. All right, Norm, it's over to you. Take that.
What do I say? The title of this book is Where the Wild Ox Roams. And some of you may not appreciate where that comes from. In fact, I wrote an article about it once. It comes from the book of Job. And God asks Job, you know, can you get the wild ox to come and babysit for you? Sit beside your cradle, do your hard work. And I just appreciate the fact that that tradition continues. And for some reason I just came across, this is Peanuts. You know Peanuts, don't you?
Oh yeah.
Yes. And Peanuts is there with, it's Charlie Brown. And Charlie Brown said, "Phew, I don't understand it. The weather sure has been bad, lately," says the other guy. Charlie, don't criticize the world, Charlie Brown. Where were you when he laid the foundation of the earth? Laid his cornerstone in the morning, huh? Who shut the sea with its doors when it burst forth? When the morning stars sang together? Who can number the clouds by wisdom? Who can tilt the water skins? Is the wild ox willing to serve you? Do you give the horse his might? Is it by your wisdom that the hawk soars and spreads his wings toward the south? Don't criticize the world, Charlie Brown. Okay, how would it be if I just yelled at the umpire? So people may yell at the umpire, people may yell at me, and sometimes I may get things right. And over all those years, I want to say, especially to so many of us people here, that it was really a dialogue. I learned as much from you. Go all the way back to Bill O'Brien. He used to act out dramas. And he played Gideon back in 1961, I think it was somewhere there. Students who have worked with me and have taught me to read, really see. Students also know, several of my students here from way back when you went to study with Hans Oldenhoff after you left me, learnt that I didn't know much, went on, and so many other colleagues who I know from my days here when I used to be in New York, and went to Union Seminary and learned Ugaritic, Walter Brigham and others, and then went to St. Louis and eventually got thrown out of the seminary there. I learned from a lot of my friends there, colleagues. I learned from colleagues in Australia, in New Zealand, all over the world. And I say thank you to all, and I say thank you to every one who has written in this book. so the list goes on. And the play by William Woolrock. We did lots of plays all over the country back in those days. James Wesley, Ralph Klein, another one of my first students. That was amazing. I've learned so much from them. And I want to say special thanks to Sheffield Phoenix for putting together another one of my production, my materials, and especially to Alan, Peter Truding, who helped. Thanks very much, man. It's just amazing that this would happen. And also to my beloved, who has tolerated my escape to the SPL time and again. And this time she came with me, which is great given things. So thank you, and I ask, may the wild ox roam in your world, and the wild ox roam in your world, and you sense the wild ox has wisdom to be what the wild ox can be. That's it.
David will have copies of the book here. I know that some of you would dearly love to get Norm's signature on them. So we will just call this formal presentation to an end, but please do come up, say a word or two to Norm, get a copy of the book, get him to sign it. Thank you very much.